as a teenager, I, like most teenagers who lived in Liberty City in Brownsville at the time, I just was always amazed at the entertainers that I knew would be at the Hampton House. And so one Sunday, I'll never forget it. One Sunday, I was supposed to be going to Salters Chapel AME Church, because that's a church, at that time I was an African Methodist Episcopal. That's what AME means. And Salters Chapel had a young people's meeting. And I had seen on the marquee that Jacqui Wilson was going to be at the Hampton House. So I said, Mom, I'm going to Salters Chapel because they're having the, youth meeting at the church. And I'll take the bus. You don't have to take me, I'll take the bus. So I got on 27 and just came over I went to Salters Chapel. I did go. I stopped in. I told everybody hi. And the cool part about being able to, get invisible at Salters Chapel is that there's an upstairs, where the church is, and there's a basement. So I went upstairs and I sat there for a minute. Then I went back down to the basement so they could see me like at least twice. And then I just kind of disappeared and found my way to the historic Hampton House. I can even remember what I was wearing. I had on my YPD little olive green, it was a horrible skirt, but little olive green, horrible YPD skirt, and a nice little white blouse. And this family was going in at the time. I think they were at the hotel. So I just walked in with them, as if I were a part of that family. And then I made my way over to the supper club, which is where Jacqui Wilson was performing. And I honestly believe, in fact, I know that the security guy knew that I was not a part of that family and that I was not supposed to be in the supper club seeing Jacqui Wilson. But he let me stay, and I was able to hear Jacqui Wilson sing "Lonely Teardrops, Wop, Do Wop." Oh, what a day, what a day. I skipped, I sat there, I stood there and watched him. And then the security guard kind of eased close to me and he tapped me on my shoulder, and I looked back at him like, oh, really? Oh, I'm not supposed to be here? Okay. And I just made my way back out the front door. And I think I almost skipped all the way to Salters Chapel because I was so excited. I couldn't tell anybody that I'd seen Jacqui Wilson. And, my mother did not know that I sneaked in to see Jacqui Wilson until about 2 or 3 years ago, because I told my sister, but I only told her because I just had to tell somebody. So I told her, and she said, does Mama know that? I said, are you going to tell on me? She said, no, but I should. And so we laugh about that even today, about, the secrets that sisters keep. So, saw Jacqui Wilson at the historic Hampton House. But I can tell you, several of my friends have done that, had done the same thing. And I think that was one of the things that the security guys always did. They would let teenagers kind of come in to see what was going on, but they didn't let us stay very long or anything, because I was talking to Keith Clark, who has the big jazz organization here in Miami. And he told me that he snuck in to see the jazz musicians when they came, and he would just sit in the back and hide out. And then I talked to China, the China's son, Keith Allens, and he said he always was in and out of the historic Hampton House. So there probably is a group of us who have either sneaked in or pretended, that we didn't know where we were, and ended up in wonderful shows at the historic Hampton House. And I can remember my good friend, the same one that I got in trouble with in high school, Gayla, telling me about seeing Jackie Robinson at the historic Hampton House, because she took swimming lessons here at the historic Hampton House. Back in the Jim Crow era, we learned how to swim. Most Black children learned how to swim in the Green Book hotels, and the historic Hampton House was one of the most famous Green Book hotels. And Ray Thornton, who was at that time the director of the Carver YMCA reached out to all of the Green Book hotels and asked them, would they allow children to come in to learn how to swim in their pools? And of course, what are they going to say? No, but they did. Children would learn to swim at the pools, at the Green Book hotel pools, early in the morning. We always had to come at about 9 in the morning, and we learned how to swim until about 10:30, 11 o'clock. And then, I guess by that time the guests were up and we'd stop squealing, and having so much fun, because there's nothing like, swimming early in the morning. So Gayla told me that she saw Jackie Robinson at the Hampton House. And I said, and she knew that I love baseball. I've always loved the Dodgers, and so she said, I told her, I said, I don't believe you. I think you're making that up. And she says, no, 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 I did. And sure as heck, Jackie Robinson had been here that week, but I don't think Gayla saw him. I think she just did that, to make me jealous, because she knew how much I love the Dodgers. I learned how to swim at the Sir John Hotel, because the Hampton House was like the really, really, quote, place to be hotel. So the Sir John was nice, but not nearly as nice as the Hampton House. So she talked about it, and she told me that he was tall and that he was handsome and that he didn't have on his baseball uniform. And I said, you think he wears that thing all the time, Gayla? My gosh. So, we laughed about it. And, those are my two really, really wonderful Hampton House stories.